Okay, had a little technical difficulty there, but here is another section of part two. Learning to trust the Lord can sometimes be a very frustrating process. Um, Now, it's a fact that God does all things for our good, according to Romans chapter 8 and verse 28. That does not mean He will do everything we want. Okay, don't forget that. You see, God exalts the humble and he humbles the proud, but he does not always do this the way that we would like or as quickly as we want. But the more we learn about Yahweh God, the more likely we are to trust him. Now, let's talk about this man, Moses, in this story. Moses commanded the people to get away from those wicked people, Korah and Dathan and Abiram, and don't even touch anything that they own. You know, so often we are led astray by being around the wrong kind of people. So we must always be sure to have godly men and women in our lives who will speak the truth to us, and that helps to counteract the world's influence because the world, they're anti-God. I don't care how good they are. Watch their eyes when you tell them about Jesus or God, Yahweh, living, sanctified, holy. Well, they say, well, whoa. I'm I'm a Christian. You say, are you sanctified? Well, I don't want to go that far. Or are you holy? Well, no one's holy. Are you trying to be holy? I'm doing the best I can. Hmm. Okay. All right. All right. Okay. Let's see. Now, the one thing about the man, Moses, he would not take any credit for his validation as the leader of the Israelites. Now, let me tell you about this lesson and about us. Right now, there are many others who are standing on shaky ground, and you don't know it. You say, oh, I'll get to church, oh, the Sabbath or Sunday, or when I can find time. I am so busy. Yeah, I know I should pray every day and read the Bible every day, but oh, I am just busy. Okay, you are unknowingly awaiting God's judgment. Sorry. You see, all of us are accountable to the laws of God. Look at Romans chapter 1 and verse 20. I know that's a chapter a lot of modern people just don't like because it tells us about the stuff that we are doing right now. Anyway, I want you to know you're going to need someone to warn you of the consequences of sin and to bring you to Jesus. I'm sorry, I didn't make this up. God put the plan together in eternity and it's been acted out ever since. And I know some of y'all don't like to hear about Jesus or God, and you have your own religion, or you are Christian and you act like everything is fine. This teaching that I do is meat. It's not for the weak. I teach with meat that's not for the weak. WEAK. If you want to learn more about God, how to connect more with the Creator, and to see if these things are true, stick with me. Check me out. Do some fact finding. Check out the 1948 scrolls. Check out some of these museums around the world that have history about the Hebrews, the Jews, the ancient times. There's a lot of things that a lot of people do not know. That's why we have pastors, preachers, rabbis, teachers. It's not for us. And not that we have it together, because let me tell you, like someone spoke today in church, we're not just up here standing tall on the platform, looking down our little nose at the rest of you all saying, this is the way you should live. No, we are saying, this is the way we should live. We are brothers and sisters in Christ if you know Jesus. I am no better or no worse than any of you. I'm just a pilgrim on the pathway. Write that down. I am a pilgrim on the pathway. I may be a tad ahead of some of you, but I got a whole lot of people way ahead of me, and I'm doing the best I can. So I am a warner. I'm like John the Baptist. I'm out here shaking the bushes, trying to warn people. Let me tell you about God. You see, He will affirm us as we walk in His will. You see, well, God don't affirm me. It's possible you're not walking in His will. Now, though His plans may not fit our expectations, we can trust His faithful promises, and we can endure any persecution in His good and perfect name. So don't get mad when things don't go right the way that you expect them to go right. It could be God is working things out. Now, there are several themes in this story today that we have something to learn and to share. One is that pride and self will always lead to destruction. The other thing we can learn from this lesson is that success in recruiting great numbers to one's cause is by no means a sign that the cause is right. We must always, say it again, we must always respect authority from God when speaking against any perceived injustice. Just don't go hitting people because you think they're wrong, they're in sin, and they're not doing you right and your people. You better pray about this. Maybe God is using them to get your attention. So don't be so quick on the draw to fight against people who you feel don't like you. It could be a plan of God. And we, all of us, we must always remember that God has done what He has done for us in the past, especially during uncertain times. So don't be upset. Now, about a rebellion, God does not tolerate rebellion to continue in His holy community. Oh, some men may rebel, act crazy for years, and you wonder, why don't God do something? God has mercy. He don't want them to go to hell. But if they don't repent before they die, sometime they lose everything, and they have to go to hell after they've helped so many people. Now, you see, in our history that we're reading, God was building a holy nation, a people to be set aside. That means sanctified for Himself. Why? So they would be a light to the rest of us. So don't get mad because God dealt with the Hebrews, then the Jews. Well, first they're called the children of Jacob, the children of Israel, the Israelites, then the people of Judah, and then Jews, which came about, what, 587 BC or so. In fact, finders, check me out, send me a note if I'm wrong. But they weren't always called Jews. And even the Jews today, some of them still don't know their history. They know a part of their political history. They don't always know their spiritual history and why God has allowed the world just about to turn against them and why the United States and a few other countries stand with Israel. They're not perfect because they're run by men. Maybe if women ran Israel, it might be better. I don't know. I'm not God. But don't get mad at these people. They have given us a plan. They did some stuff that was great and some stuff not so great. Look in the mirror. I have. I've done some things that were wonderful for the church and for the community. Yeah. But I've done some things that weren't wonderful, that weren't nice, that was bad. So we have to learn. Now listen to this here. How many of us have sacrificed the joy of knowing God's blessings for the sake of mere momentary gratification. You see, we owe so much to God, and all he asks for is our allegiance in return. Now, the man Moses, his confidence in God is astonishing. His faith in God is really inspiring. And God, Yahweh, he will answer us if we ask him in faith and full confidence in his ability to accomplish his sovereign will. Let God know, hey, whatever you want to do, I want to be in your will. I want to do things your way. I want to have sex your way. I want to marry the right person your way. I want to raise my children your way. I want to be a neighbor your way. I want to be a good employer or employee your way. In other words, I want to do it your way. And I know with the world that we're in, it's not going to always be nice for me, but that's okay. I still want to do things your way, even though I may get talked about and persecuted. Because, see, in this lesson, we learn here of the horrific consequences of people being rebellious. Now, today, it is popular to speak truth to power. Yeah, right. Now, although injustice and corruption in high places must be challenged, and many of God's prophets did so, it should always be done humbly and prayerfully with respect to the authority God has set in place. I know there's some authority we just don't like. We wonder how did God do this? It may be to give us a spanking. If you got a bad dictator or president or whatever, have you ever thought God allowed that person to be there? And don't think because they're there they're going to do everything right. They may do so much wrong until you're going to cry out to God, say, "Oh, God, help me. I'm going to vote the next time. I'm going to campaign for people that I feel are righteous. I don't care what name that they go under, what party. If their life points out they're trying to help this nation, I want to help them." So God sets people in place. He allows things to happen. And some things he allows to happen is not always good for us, but it's for our development. So don't forget that and don't be angry at people or the politics. Let's focus on this fact. God is faithful. He is proven to be faithful to protect his chosen servants from those who would rebel or seek to oppose him. Now, we know right now there are people killing Christians, and you wonder, where's God at? Well, at least they're in heaven, or they're waiting to go to heaven. Sometimes God allows some of us to be killed, to be raped, to be burned, to be hung, and we're innocent. And you might wonder, why? Don't ask why. Just say, God, I don't understand, but I believe you have a plan and you do everything right. I don't like what you do. I don't understand it, but you're God and I submit to your will. That's how we should all live. Don't get mad because someone dies in your family unexpectedly. There's a war and they're killing women and children and innocent people and putting eyes out, chopping off limbs and doing bad. Don't get mad at God. Understand, there is good, there is evil. There is God and the devil. So if there's any destruction, disease, devilment, it's not God. Oh, he allows it. You get mad, wonder, why don't God come and do something? He has. He sent you, sent me, other people to work towards a better day, knowing that these days are going to become more corrupt. Even if things become perfect, no racism, no poverty, no wars. Everything is getting along great on the surface. But down below, there's always something happening unless people can connect to the Creator and do things from a pure heart, not just for their own benefit. Now, here's some examples we need to always have: to respect others, to respect parents, to respect your spiritual leader over you. And if you're in school, college, university, on a job, respect the person over you. When you do that, it's going to go well with you. You won't get in so much trouble and wondering, why did God let this happen to me? I just don't understand it. Well, talk to God about that. You don't understand something? Talk to God about that. You got to learn to talk to God about these things. And because you have to understand, God really does everything right. And all you have to do is just trust Him, and it's going to work out really good. But what happens, a lot of us don't want to trust God. We still want to do it our way. We think that we know everything right. We don't. Now, there are several themes in this story that we should learn from. One is that pride and self will always, always, always lead to destruction. And another theme is this: success in recruiting great numbers to one's cause is not a sign that the cause is right. We got to learn something. Always respect authority from God when speaking against any perceived injustice. And always remember what God has done for us, especially like right now, during this pandemic, new deviants, new variations of this pandemic. Don't get too carried away and shake your fist at God. He might be doing something to allow the land to be cleansed. And so if someone you love and they die from COVID-19, yes, cry. Yes, grieve some, but please don't blame God. Just say, God, I don't understand. They were doing good and you took them out. No, God did not take them out. He allows things to be taken out. He allows bad people to continue to be in power. He allows that. Ask him why. It's for a reason. One thing about God, he does not tolerate rebellion to continue in his holy community. That's why when you study the history of the Jews, Israelites, Hebrews, God was about building a holy nation, a people to be sanctified. Huh? That means to be set apart for himself. That's the meaning of sanctification, to be set apart. There are a lot of Christians, but not many are sanctified Christians. That take a lot more effort. And some people don't want to be in trying to figure it out. And that's just too hard. Rather just do the best that we think we can do and leave the rest to God. That's not scriptural. Now, how many of us have sacrificed the joy of knowing God's blessings for the sake of mere momentary gratification? You see, we owe so much to God. And all he calls for is an allegiance from us. This man, Moses, his confidence is astounding. His faith in God is really inspiring. Now, us, God will answer us if we ask him in faith and full confidence in his ability to accomplish his sovereign will. Even Jesus had to bow to that before going to the cross. He didn't want to go. Folks say he was God. That's debatable. You got to understand how the words have been translated. He was the Son of God. It's like me. People look at me and say, I see your grandfather. I am not my grandfather, but they see the same kind of man. Or they say, man, I see your mama. That means the teaching is there. I'm not my mama, but in a way, I am my mama. I am my grandfather. I am what they have put inside of me that is all good. So Jesus, in a way, he was a part of God. He's called the Son of God and the Son of Man. And in the Garden of Gethsemane, if he was God, he would have known, okay, I'm gonna die, but I'm not gonna die because I'm God. But no, it was predicted. This Messiah would die, dead, no breath. And so Jesus knew that's what death meant. He had never died before. He'd always been with God. They were like, two peas in the shop, two peas in the shed pot. They were together in the creation, before the creation, and now this he had to give up all of his power, just kept some, and now God's saying, the next step, son, is you must die. He went, yeah, I know, but is there some other way I can save humanity? I mean, I've never died before. I've always been one with you. If I die, that means I take the sins of the people and heap them on me, and you and I won't be in fellowship. That's right, son. A dark cloud that never existed will come between me and you. Jesus said, if there's some other way, he prayed hard. The man part in him said, I don't want to die. After a while, he checked on his disciples. They were sleeping. Checked them again and said, okay. Then he said, Father, let your will be done. Isn't that our prayer in Matthew chapter 6, verse 9 and 13? We say these words, but sometimes we don't believe it. We say, let your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Well, that might mean a war may come through your country and destroy a fourth of it, including some of the people that you love. And before they're killed, the women could be raped and their bones broken, and they're Christian, or whatever term they have. They believe in God, God's with them. And you wonder, how did God let this happen? Hold on to that question until you get to heaven. And then you can ask him, you can find your answer. You see, there's something about God that I've been discovering too, along with Mike Spencer, who wrote part of what I'm sharing with you. Who? Oh, Mike Spencer is part of the team of, it's called, remember I told you, this is what I'm reading from and teaching from by Union Gospel Press, the Bible Expositor and Illuminator. I'm sharing, and some things I want to share that Mike Spencer shared. He said, we've got to focus on the fact that God is faithful to protect his chosen servants from those who rebel or seek to oppose them. And this is something for all of us. In this day and time, so many people around the world are so selfish. Me, 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 me. I've been that way. All about me, all about me, all about my country, my people, my race. Get over it. It ain't going to work. It never has worked. So let's turn to respect, first of all, our parents. Respect our spiritual leaders. And yes, respect your political leaders. I know I don't fly well with a lot of us in this country, but learn to respect them. There's power in respect, there's power in prayer. They're not doing right according to the Word of God. Most of them are not. Pray and encourage people to kick them out of their office. I know some been there 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50, 60, but all of them have one thing in common. They all going to die and face the Creator. I know you hate to wait that long. You say, man, when they going to die? When is God going to do something? Well, as far as I know, no politician has lived to rule over 150 years, as far as I know. I know some rule for a strong hand, 30 years, 40 years. They make deals with the devil who run other countries. Next thing you know, they're losing their land, they're losing key resources, and you live there. Pray. It's for a reason. You pray. But learn to respect those in leadership. And those of you who are in school, don't disrespect people. Don't do that. Man, that is not good at all. You should not disrespect people. There's a verse we had in this lesson that was taught or shared last week, but a lot of you know I was ill in the hospital, had a stroke, and that's a different story. How did I get a stroke? Oh, yeah, it was not God's will. Now, this verse is called the golden text. It's the thread in this whole lesson here from Psalm 16:1. It says this, "Preserve me, O God, for in thee do I put my trust." Now, that is a prayer of David. And I want to thank John Lodi, of Union Gospel Press for doing this research on this verse. This verse of Psalm 16:1, it's a prayer of David. It's expressing abiding confidence in God's or Yahweh's goodness and provision for his people. And then there's also Psalm 16. It is famously contains lines that were cited by the Apostle Peter in his sermon as a prophecy of the resurrection of Jesus. Look that up in Acts 2, verses 25 through 31, and then also read Psalm 16, verses 8 through 11. There's a type and there's an anti-type. Yeah, yin, yang, oh yeah, black, white, good, bad, God, devil. Yeah, yeah. Life is interesting. This lesson about these men, all this power, Korah, Dathan, Abraham. You see, they were so preoccupied with challenging the God anointed servant Moses, and he had too much authority over all the Hebrews. Understand, they weren't called Jews at that time, they're called Hebrews. And so, these men, they had power, they had following, they thought, here comes Moses and Aaron said, God said this and God said that. Yeah. You know, and these men, Korah, Dathan, and Abraham, they were immovable in their stubborn determination. They had seen God move through Moses, but they felt like, we should be in charge. And they refused to cooperate or listen to Moses' warnings, like, don't do this here. You have a good job, and you're trying to overthrow me, and I am nobody, but God placed me here. So you got these petitions, and you have these requests. I'm begging you, repent, save your life. They said, forget you, or something to that nature at that time. The consequence of them rebelling against God's chosen leader was this: God caused the earth beneath their feet to open up like some gigantic beast and swallow them alive. And not just them, their wives, their children, even their houses, everything they own, gone. All their belongings. Not only that, that was happening outside. Back at the tabernacle, where these 250 men they weren't censers and incense to prove that God could use them like God used Moses and Aaron. And so while the earth was swallowing up people over here, back by the tabernacle, these men swinging these censers, thinking, yeah, we could be a higher priest, the fire came out and consumed them, all of them. Burning flesh. 250 men burning. And they had wives, as far as I know. They had a family gone in an instant. Now, in the New Testament, you can see the veracity of Yahweh in defense of his holiness, as you see in Numbers 16. It is not diminished, but rather it is vehemently reaffirmed. The writer of Hebrews says this here: our God is a consuming fire. Don't forget that. Hebrews 12:29. And also, the writer says, it is still a fearful thing to fall into the hands of the living God. Hebrews 10:26 through 31. Now, the Apostle Paul, who wrote most of the New Testament, he also reaffirms that Jesus Christ one day will return. How? In flaming fire, taking vengeance on them that know not God. Read that in 2 Thessalonians chapter 1, verse 8. I did not write this. It was written before my people's time, before, and then another person, Peter, he acknowledges that on that day when Christ returns, Jesus returns, we use the name Jesus. See, Jesus was a common name. I believe it was kind of a Hebrew name. It really means Jeshua or Joshua, but people, the English is called, what's that called? Sliteration, where they just changed it. They changed it to Jesus. That was not what he was called. He was here on earth, but it's the name that we become acquainted with. But Peter says, on that day when Jesus returns, quote, the heavens being on fire shall be dissolved, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. Whoa. 2 Peter 3:12. And that will happen during the final rebellion. Right now, a lot of us, including me, I've done it. I have rebelled against teachers, employers, my wife, my mama, preachers, teachers, even a high-ranking bishop. I have rebelled. I was hard-headed, rebellious, and I have suffered for that because I have spoken out against some of God's choice leaders. I thought I was right in my own way, and I have paid a price for that. I don't want anyone else to go through that. But there's going to be another rebellion, not just the one we've had in our country, January, and the ones other that we have around the world. And some people feel like, I got to rebel. This dictator's crazy. Let's kill him. You're not God. See if there's some other way. And sometimes you have to work against those who are over you because they are walking away from God. And you've prayed and you feel like they're not following God and it's getting bad. We got to take them out. That's between you and God. But there's going to be a final rebellion. And that's when the enemies of Yahweh, the enemies of God, the enemies of the Hebrew people, the enemies of the Jewish people, the enemies of the Christians, the enemies of all those who do their best to connect with the Creator. That's when they're going to surround all of us. And they're going to also surround Jerusalem. And they feel like we're going to take it over. You know what's going to happen? Before the last bombs they sent to destroy Jerusalem happen, fire is going to come down. I said, oh man, you believe in that bunk? That's a fairy tale. Keep living. Like my friend said, he is an atheist. Dr. Ron T. He was in school. He was a genius. He ran track, and he was a good friend of mine because there's a girl I really like. She acted like she liked me because I was getting pretty popular. He saw that facade she put on and told me, I'm going to take her away from you. I went, what'd you say? He said, man, you think she's all that. She's using you because you are a rising star on the campus, and she want to be next to you. Man, that girl ain't worth. And I'm gonna do you a favor. I'm rising too. I'm a track star, and he was smart and handsome. And he said, I'm gonna do you a favor. I'm gonna take her away from you, and then when she think she got the top man on the campus, I'm gonna drop her. Now, what happened to me? It came to pass. He took her from me, and I was left looking kind of foolish around. But he told me he was going to do, and he did it and dropped her royally. And so these things happen. I mean, I know you don't believe in, some of you all don't believe in no fire coming out of heaven and God's going to devour people and send people to this hell and they're going to burn up or burn forever, whatever that word means. Uh, let me tell you one thing. Uh, John Lodi says here, when people rebel in that last fight we have, when people fight against God and his angels, he said, well, let me tell you where it is. Same problem, same God, same solution. Why don't we learn? Why? Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, forever. If it happened to Sodom and Gomorrah, oh, we don't dare go there because the world is saying, do what you want to do. If it feels good, do it. Don't listen to these Christian people and all of this stuff. It feels good. You want to change to be something else, just do it. Just do it. Well, okay, I won't even go there. But let me tell you one thing. Same problems that we have now, the same problem we had in other civilizations. The same God then, the same God now. The same solution then to wipe out sin, flood, fire. The same solution is going to come and cleanse this planet and this universe. Oh, the question is, but what about the aliens who live on other planets? I mean, is God going to destroy them too? Like my mom would say, stay tuned. Keep listening. When you die and you wake up, I know some of you believe when you die, that's it. But when you die and you wake up and stand before God and you see all these things coming, it's going to be too late. So, folks say, man, you trying to scare the hell out of me. I wish I could. I wish I could scare the hell out of people and scare y'all into heaven. I don't have that kind of power. All I can do is say, look at history, look at now, look at the prophecies, and consider it. My friend that took that girl, he was, I think still is, an atheist. You see, as a young man, he saw church people do bad things. One was his uncle, who at one time was way up, but he fell after a while. God let him fall. He was uncovered, lost everything. This young man saw this man preach about God, live right, and then behind closed doors, things were happening. So this man figured, man, forget God. I'm going to be an atheist. He asked me this question. He said, Ed, how you going to feel? You trying to live all holy and live for God and missing out on fun, doing what you want to do. You trying to, man, that's crazy. What if you die and discover there's no heaven, there's no hell, there's no God, there's no devil, and you're just dead? I said, huh? So how you gonna feel? You die, there's nothing. I said, I am not gonna feel anything. I'm dead. If you're right and I die and turn to dust and there's no heaven for me, frankly, Ron, I haven't missed anything. I enjoy my connection with the Creator. I don't say I enjoy being chastised when I disappoint him, but he loves me. He's trying to keep me on the right path, and he has to chastise those he loves. He even said in his word in the King James version, if he don't chastise you and you claim to be a Christian, you are a bastard. What'd you say? You are a bastard. That's in the King James version. Just look it up for yourself. In other words, God says by the writer of Hebrews, he loves those he chastises. In other words, if God takes time to spank you, to make you act right, to help you to do right, to encourage you to leave the stuff that you want to do that's fun for you, but it's against him, that's love. It's like my mom. After she was spanking me, and some of the spankings were, they were serious. She might say, even before, she said, "Do you know why I'm gonna tear you up?" No, I know why. I love you. I'm thinking, you're gonna love me? I love you. And if I don't tear you up now, you're gonna keep on doing worse things, worse things. You're gonna hurt people, and we can't have that. Do you understand me? No, no. Okay, get down on your knees. Oh, I bought those a new pants. Take them off. And, oh, wait a minute. Is that a new shirt? Yeah. Take it off and don't tap your new shirt and new pants. Oh, that didn't feel like love to me. But afterwards, she would talk to me. And she'd always talk to me and explain why some of us, like hardhead me, have to get severely punished. Not because a person hates us. They see where we are going if we don't get put back in place. Maybe with whatever they can get, to get you back in place. I didn't understand that. If they did not care and say, "I love you," like some of my friends, their mom said, "I love my son. Whatever he want to do is for I show him love." And a lot of my friends are dead in that love. Some are in prison because they were loved like that, allowed to do anything they wanted to do. They love all their sons, grandchildren by 10, 15 different women and don't say a word to the son. These are my grandchildren. How they get here? Well, my boy, Lord have mercy, that boy's so bad. Yeah, all these women, shame on him. Do you ever talk to him to tell him that's a slave, a mentality? He is reverting back to slavery when the master said, "Boy, go in there and make me some babies. Then go down the road there and make some babies there. Then come back up here and make some babies." That's a slave, a mentality. So understand, God has a plan, and Moses knew that plan. He know this is not going to end up well, fellas. Don't do this. But the 250 men were burned up. They were burned up. And all through the Word of God, it talks about this in Hebrews and in Second Thessalonians and Second Peter. It talks about this, that God and Jesus, when they come this other time, the last time, if you're not doing right, you're going to burn. And I don't know if that means burn up completely or burn up completely forever. I don't want to take a chance. Now, let me tell you one thing about God. When you read some of these stories, you go, "Ooh, that God was mean. I'm glad Jesus came and showed a better way." Uh, all the way through the first covenant, the Hebrew Bible, what we call the Old Testament. And not that old. It's got lessons for us to learn today. If you read it carefully, you'll see God is abounding in love, in mercy, in patience, and forgiveness, but only when you turn back to Him. And nowadays, that applies only if you take refuge in Jesus Christ. So, this is another part of the lesson I am sharing with you. I wanted to share more, but I think we may end it here. Um, Kimberly Ray has shared something. I think I shared this with you all last time. It's called World Missions. She does an article every week that is really, really good. So we just thank God to be able to share this with you. And I think what I'll do, I'm going to share one more thing with you from the Hebrew side. Thank you, Robin Fitzgerald, who has done this research. Listen to this. A Jewish writer states that although Jews have excelled in many different things, only one sport truly has a claim as being the national sport. So, oh, really? What is it? The writer says, arguing. They are the best. And that comes from this website called myjewishlearning.com. Now, you see, the writer is using humor to make an important point. In Judaism, there are only a few topics in which you cannot ask questions. And from them, we learn don't question God. And some folks say, if I can't question God, he can't even be God. Is he afraid of my little puny questions? No, you can question God, but this is where it comes from. The Hebrews and Jews taught there are some questions, you don't ask questions there. And Jewish scholars and leaders, they encourage questions and debate sometimes to get to the truth. There's something called the Mishnah. You know what it is? Look it up. It uses the language of the dispute as a mode of expression. Now, in the Talmud, Jews raise argumentation to an art form. And the Talmud itself is a collection of thousands upon thousands of arguments among rabbis. And two leading rabbi sages that I think they may still be alive. No, they were alive at the time of Jesus. Now, they founded opposing schools of Jewish thought. One is called the House of Hillel and the House of Shamiai. Now, there are two schools. Now, these two schools debated many areas of Jewish life, and these debates helped to shape Judaism. And that's why we have so many things, and there's a lot. If you want to be close to the Creator, you want to be a Christian or Jew or Hebrew and get close to the Creator, there's a lot of things about Judaism you need to relearn. Now, this week's lesson that I've shared, it describes the result of this one guy. He had a argument against Moses, and he was fierce. His name was Korah. Don't forget that name. Now, most rabbis, I was told, they agree that debate is a crucial component of Torah study and understanding. So, why were Korah's actions so problematic? Well, most rabbis agree that the problem with Korah's argument was that it was not for the sake of heaven. It was personal. He wanted to argue him down to show that I can lead just as well as you. Okay? And Jews, probably some Hebrews, they believe arguments for the sake of bettering life for the Jewish people have merit. However, they believe arguments to gain power, attain personal wealth, or promote division, that is sinful. I have to agree with them on that. You see, Korah, he tried to distinguish this power play as a holy action. But yet, his intentions, they were far from holy as he attempted to divide Israel and rebel not against Moses, against God, against Yahweh. And today, as Christians, we must heed this lesson about Korah, because what he did, people do it now. I've seen it in a lot of churches that you try to get people to agree on something. There's always someone or a group saying, I don't agree. And I know I'm right. But as Christians, learn from Korah. Scriptural discussions for better understanding can prove helpful, but power plays that harm others and divide the body of Christ, that's sinful. And we've got a lot of people, a lot of church. You wonder where these names come from. The church of the first, the church of the second, the church of the third, the new kind of church. Where these names come from? Human error. We as humans feel like, well, I was in that church. It's pretty good, but they're not quite right. I'm gonna start me a church, and I get some people to follow me. You want to start you a church? Leave the members where they are, where you were. Get some pimps and prostitutes and gamblers, drug dealers, crooked politicians, atheists, agnostics. Yeah, don't take folks from your home church. You want to start you a church? Start you a church. Buy you and your honey mama and your children. Start on the street corner. Other folks have had to do that. So don't have a power play. And see, God does not expect us to be mindless followers, but He does demand respect and honor. You see, when we have questions, let's learn to approach God with humility. Let me close with this. It's a question that I want you to think about. Why is it so important to have unified leadership within the church? Now, here's a second question. Can you have close relationships with unbelievers, those who don't believe in the Creator? Think about that. And can you evangelize people without making them feel like projects? Another question or a thought. We should not attempt to appeal to the world by being just like the world. So we got to be careful of all of these things. And I tell you, these lessons are serious, 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 serious. Now, the lesson I just shared is for the 21st of this month. The lesson for today, I'm gonna share sometime next week. You see, next week lesson is from Numbers 20 verses 1 through 13. You can read ahead, take notes, write questions. It's going to reinforce the truth that there are consequences for disobedience, even for leaders. Now, next week, we'll also be reminded that no one is exempt from this divine principle. Even big time preachers. And the folks wonder, when's God going to do something? Well, He's a God of mercy. But at some point, He may strip them down, cause them to get a horrible disease, and take them out. And they know why. So that's next week. So I'm going to teach the lesson for the 28th sometime this week. Just be looking around, and I'm not sure what's going to happen, but I'm going to teach this week's lesson between tomorrow and probably Saturday. And then by next Saturday, I'll catch up and get real current again. So join us again next week because we're going to have another episode of learning from about sanctification and holiness as it's not easy, unwrapping the scriptures with myself as your host, Bishop Ed Udell, and our friends, Kenneth A. Sponsler. I think that's right. Robert Ferguson Jr., Nigel C. Black, Chelsea Villasenor, Megan Hickman, John Lodi, Kimberlyn Ray, Robin Fitzgerald, Mike Spencer, and others from Union Gospel Press. Thank you for joining us this time. We look forward to having you here again at the next lesson from the book of Numbers. God bless you.